Now that you've been introduced to the dynamic concentration tool of mindfulness and have had a chance to experience it more fully, we'd like to explore how this basic focusing skill can be applied to the art of high-performance breakthrough thinking. On Side 8, you learned about the power of mindfulness to enhance your awareness in order to transform ordinary activities and experiences. On this side, you'll learn the fundamental skills necessary to combine mindfulness and disciplined thinking to achieve extraordinary results in insight and understanding. Power thinking, as some people call it, has two complementary aspects to it. Active and creative mind skills, like ordinary analysis and rational thinking, along with imagination and the focusing power of your intention, balanced by what we call quiet mind skills, such as concentration and mindfulness, which give you access to intuitive intelligence and inspiration. If you're serious about having breakthroughs in creative thinking, you must learn to master and integrate both active and quiet mind skills. The quiet and active mind skills complement each other, like the steadiness and brightness of a candle flame. This is the real key to developing the power of your creative intelligence. To the degree that you're mindful and awake, you can guide the direction of your life and experience it fully. If you're not mindful, you have few choices and little power to take control of your life. In the course of this tape, you'll be learning 5 guidelines and 4 primary skills for developing mindful, disciplined, and focused thinking. This is the kind of thinking that can lead to breakthrough insights. So let's think about thinking for a while. For most people, thinking is a poorly developed skill, something that's done semi-consciously most of the time. Though you spend a considerable amount of time thinking, most of your thinking is kind of a background activity. Though it's going on much of the time, if you're like most people, your attention usually isn't being intentionally focused and held in focus with discipline. Most people actually have little experience with disciplined and intentional thinking. As you learn to be more mindful of your thinking, you'll discover how your unconscious thought processes consume an enormous amount of energy and attention in your life. By bringing the mental functions of your thinking more into the domain of your conscious creative control, you'll find that thinking becomes a more powerful tool for you to use in your life. In the process, you'll become more free of the tyranny that unconscious thinking has had over you.
Once you're mindful of the insights that are swimming through your mind, the tools of concentration and analysis can be used to focus on and channel these insights. Concentration and analysis are 2 complementary and interdependent functions of mind. Concentration is used to quiet the mind and to focus attention. This allows you to then use your thinking and reasoning power to work for you in an optimum way. The winning combination of a quiet, focused mind with the lucid clarity of your creative intelligence equips you with the qualities of mind necessary to deeply probe and analyze any situation in a deep, insightful way. Let's take a closer look at how this complementarity works through that example of the candle flame we mentioned earlier. If the flame of the candle or the oil lamp is bright, but there's a strong wind blowing, you won't be able to see much by its light. But if the flame is bright and there's no wind, then you'll be able to see very clearly. In a similar way, the clarity and brilliance of your mind can be disturbed and clouded by the stormy winds of your turbulent thoughts and feelings. And even if you manage to still the disturbing thoughts and distractions through calmly focused concentration, you still need to turn up the clarity of your mind through penetrating analysis, or your mind won't shine brightly enough to see clearly. Concentration and the other quiet mind skills calm the flickering flames of your mind and help you to focus your attention on whatever you choose. Once the mind is calmed and focused, then the brightness of the mind's creative intelligence can be directed to probe the subject through analysis. The lucidity of your concentrated analysis is like the brightness of the flame, which allows you to see clearly and deeply whatever you focus on. High-performance breakthrough thinking knows how to utilize both of these powers of mind. You use concentration and focusing techniques to quiet and focus the mind, to build its stability and clarity. Then you direct your analytical thinking capability to focus in more deeply on whatever you choose.
We've said that breakthrough thinking, or power thinking, is achieving a delicate balance between active and quiet minds. So how can you achieve that balance and build a mind that's fit for action? Well, there are 5 guidelines to follow in order to become a breakthrough thinker. The first step is to select a theme or topic. It may be to plan a presentation that you need to plan, or a house design that you're working on. You might ponder a choice that you need to make on a business deal or a relationship. Perhaps you'd like to think deeply about something that's troubling you, or about something important in your life that you need more clarity on. For best results, however, we'd suggest that to begin with, you choose a theme that has an uplifting, wholesome, and positive association for you, and avoid working with themes that have too strong of an emotional charge, as that will only tend to generate agitation in your mind. Whatever the topic or theme you decide on, be clear about what you wish to focus your thinking on, and then begin. Second, state clearly to yourself what your purpose is in pondering this topic. Is it to find an answer to a question? Is it to produce a product such as a preliminary design for your house or your presentation? Is it to clarify your feelings or to find a path of action to reconcile a conflict? Whatever the theme is, begin with clarity on both the theme and the direction that you want to go with it. Third, turn your attention to begin thinking about this theme and think in a disciplined way. What this means is that whenever your mind wanders off to other topics, you're disciplined in bringing it back and staying focused on the theme that you've selected. If you're planning your vacation, for example, this is not the time to think about your business meeting next week. As you're training your thinking in this way, you may notice that at times your attention starts to scatter, and you're having difficulty staying focused on what you're thinking about. If this happens repeatedly, then switch strategies. Let go of thinking about the theme and shift your attention to work with one of the concentration techniques that you've learned. Use this to help you focus and sharpen your mind so that you can think at peak effectiveness. If you have any doubts about what method to use, return to the mindfulness of breathing. Mindful breathing is especially powerful in quieting and focusing the distracting internal conversations of your mind. Once the mind has grown more calm, focused, and concentrated, then return your attention back again to whatever you're thinking about. Fourth, at times in probing this theme, you may break through with an insight or a breakthrough idea. When such revelations arise, you'll probably experience a boost of your energy and alertness and a sense of discovery and excitement. This affirms that you've just uncovered something of value that a moment before was hidden from you. As these breakthrough ideas come into consciousness, think them through to their natural conclusion. And finally, when you feel as though you've arrived at a conclusion or completion of an idea, or that the decision or answer that you were looking for is clear to you, then shift modes again. At this point, transition out of the highly focused and directed mode of thinking into a more receptive mode of mindful alertness. For now, simply sit quietly and hold that idea or conclusion in your mind. You don't have to do anything to keep it going now. Just simply, quietly, be with it, observe it, feel how this sits with you without needing to think about it. As you rest in this receptive mode of attention, be particularly mindful of 4 important things. First, be mindful of the thoughts that naturally and spontaneously come to mind. Second, be mindful of the mental images that come to mind. Third, be mindful of the feelings and emotions that come to mind. And fourth, be mindful of the patterns of how this insight sits in your body and of the patterns of sensation and vibration or energy flow within your body. As you rest in this mindfully receptive state of awareness, allow your intuition and your deeper knowing to work for you. As you mindfully observe the flow of your thoughts and feelings, deeper levels of insight may arise, revealing still deeper levels of understanding of your original theme and topic. From this receptive and quiet place, a new angle on the situation may appear and lead you back into another round of focused thinking. Follow the momentum of this thinking through to the next point of conclusion, and then once again just be with that, and be mindful of how that insight sits with you. If you proceed in this way, starting with the clarity of purpose, disciplined focused thinking, and listening for a deeper insight, you'll quickly build the coherence, power, stability, and lucidity of your mind.
Now, how can we apply this knowledge of breakthrough thinking to make major differences in our lives? Classically, a number of themes and topics have been traditionally recommended for deep analysis and breakthrough thinking. For example, as the world has grown more and more complex, more and more people are talking about systems thinking. It's clear that every person, organization, or community exists within and is influenced by a very large sphere of powerful forces. Systems thinking challenges you to expand your thinking to embrace a vast spectrum of dynamic patterns of relationships. Any really great ecologist or regional planner or futurist knows how to think in this way. For example, think of economics and the incredible number of forces that play on the flow of money and goods around the world. Imagine the electronic tides of trading that flow around the planet each day, and how the flow of money and goods is affected by the ever-changing currents of politics, weather, and seasons. The impact of the hopes and fears of millions of people ripple through the world daily in fluctuating flows of capital and resources. Or consider the infinitely complex network of interdependent relationships among living creatures in our world. Just think how the plant kingdom transforms sunlight and water and earth and your exhaled carbon dioxide and gives you oxygen and carbohydrates to fuel your body. Imagine how the activity of countless microorganisms in the soil and the sea keep the tides of life flowing and growing in the world. Focused thinking is classically applied to pondering big questions that all human beings face. For example, mindfulness of breathing introduces you to the notion of constant change. If you were to take this notion to heart and really observe and think about how everything is changing, how nothing stays the same, and how everything is related and flowing together, then this theme of thought can transform many old ways of thinking and lead you to a profound sense of your deep interconnectedness.
In our time with the Green Berets, one of the most intensive periods of training was called the encampment. The encampment was a 1-month period of intensive mind-body training that was held in a secluded training center somewhere in the forests of North America. In preparation for the encampment, we explained to the men that they would undergo intensive training in the mastery of their minds and bodies and would be required to practice in silence for most of the time. This was further intensified by the fact that they'd be sitting still for many hours of each day and working with methods like the ones you're learning on these tapes to strengthen their mindfulness and concentration. One of the key requirements in our contract with the Army was to teach men how to remain motionless and alert for long periods of time and to think clearly during long periods of stress and boredom. For many of the men, the prospects of spending a month, mostly in silence, focusing on their minds and bodies, was really a terrifying idea. All of these guys had been through ranger training, and about half of them were halo jumpers, which means high altitude, low opening. They would jump out of a plane at 33,000 feet, free fall, and then open their parachute at 1,000 feet or below, and then fall into the middle of a lake, make a boat out of their 90 or 110-pound pack, swim for a couple miles, put on their pack and hike for 90 miles in 3 days, and then at the end of the ordeal they'd put a bullet through a target the size of a silver dollar. These were highly trained professional soldiers. When we came in, they looked at us and said, "And what are you going to do for us?" But when it came to the encampment and the prospects of having to be alone with themselves and to work intensively with their own minds and their own internal conflicts, wars, and enemies, some of the men were really spooked. So off we went for what was to be 4 of the most challenging, frightening, and rewarding weeks of these soldiers' careers. About the beginning of the 3rd week of the encampment, the men's minds were starting to really get focused. In about a week, we knew we'd need to start increasing the physical training to prepare them for a very intense orienteering course that the colonel called the gut check. None of the other teams that had been sent out on this one had survived. They all had to be pulled off the course because the teams broke down under pressure and there were so many injuries. Everyone was watching to see how our teams would do. We kept training hard and deep. One evening, I introduced a new technique of mind training to the men. They'd been training intensively with concentration, mindfulness, and energy awareness methods from the martial arts. It was time to take the power of the concentrated mind and put it to work to engage the thinking mind a bit more. Tonight, I said, we're going to work with a new method. This is a powerful technique for perfecting concentration. It's also a powerful method of increasing the power of your thinking. And it's good for strengthening the power of your heart as well. Though the actual form of this practice is deceptively simple, it weaves together many elements in a highly efficient and sophisticated way. I went on to explain that this method worked on many different levels. First, as a very powerful concentration technique, it actually works better for many people than watching the breath or focusing on a mental image. Second, since it has a verbal component to it, it harnesses and redirects the energy of the thinking mind and focuses it in a beneficial direction. Third, since so much of our energy is wasted in internal conflicts that result from outer conflicts, this method is very effective in resolving some of those inner and outer conflicts. Fourth, since so many people have such poor self-esteem or a negative image of themselves, this method has a powerful effect on building a healthier relationship with yourself, and therefore helps you to build healthier relationships with others. This method begins with a concentration technique that focuses attention through a series of thoughts and verbal cues around the theme of wishing well-being to yourself and others. It goes like this. First, you begin with yourself. You can imagine that you're sitting face to face with yourself, or that you can see yourself in a mirror or in your mind's eye. And you think to yourself or softly say, "May I be happy and peaceful. May I be free from fear and pain. May I live with love and compassion. May I fully awaken my full potentials and be free." And then you begin again with, "May I be happy and peaceful." And you just keep cycling through this sequence. If your mind wanders at any point through the cycle and you lose track of which phrase you were on, you just return to the first one and you start over from the beginning again. Once you learn the verbal formula, you then use the words to guide your mind, and you really think deeply and take each idea to heart. What would your life be like if you were really happy and peaceful? What would be the quality of your life if you were free from the discomfort of fear and pain? How would you be living if you were to live with love and compassion? And what would the quality of your life be like if you were to fully awaken your full potentials and be free from all the confusions and neuroses? So you just cycle on through these thoughts again and again, and you post the sentinels of mindfulness and vigilance to guard against your mind wandering off to other thoughts. And as you get more focused, now and then things just click in, and there's a little aha, and you really get a feeling for what it means and what it feels like. At the next level of this method, you hold in mind someone that you have a close and heartfelt connection with, someone for whom you have a lot of gratitude and appreciation. You envision them sitting or standing before you, and you think to yourself, from your heart to theirs, "May you be happy and peaceful. May you be free from fear and pain. May you live with love and compassion. And may you fully awaken and be free." You just continue to flow through this again and again, holding this person in mind. With phase 3, you bring to mind an enemy or a person with whom you've been having some difficulty, some hurt or animosity. Imagine this person is standing in front of you, and holding them in mind, see them as fundamentally similar to yourself. This man has a wife and kids just like you. He cares about his country and his beliefs. Like yourself, he wants to live a life that's fulfilling, happy, secure, and free from suffering. So holding the focus of your attention on this person, you generate these thoughts and feelings just like before. May you be happy and peaceful. May you be free from fear and pain. May you live with love and compassion. May you fully awaken and be free. And as you continue, you envision this person in front of you actually becoming happier and more peaceful and free from pain within them that leads them to cause pain for you or others. You see that as you change your perception of them, that they change and a new quality of relationship is possible with them. Phase 4 of this method is to expand your thinking and the generation of these thoughts of loving kindness out in a broader and more expansive way. First, expand this out to the people around you, and then you keep on expanding the radius of this wish and this feeling out to everyone in the room, everyone on the bus, everyone on the freeway, or to everyone living in the neighborhood. Taking as many expanding leaps as you like, finally you reach an expanse of heart and mind and feeling that touches all beings. So I taught the men this method for focusing their mind and energy, and then the official training for the day was over. I had sensed that this unique and powerful approach to mind training had caught them by surprise, and that dropping this one into the powerful state of focus that they'd already achieved had made its impact. Sitting there in the light of an oil lamp, still as the mountains around us, we continued to polish our minds and open our hearts to the power of these thoughts of loving kindness. At one point I looked up and around the room. Here, sitting in silence, were men who'd witnessed incredible human suffering. Here were men who were prepared to put their lives on the line for something they believed in. And as my attention traveled around the room, it suddenly locked on to one of the men. He was one of the oldest men on the team, a Vietnam veteran, sitting there solid and stable like a mountain, with an M16 at his side, and wearing a Ranger's Death from Above skull and crossbone t-shirt. He sat there like a samurai in perfect meditation posture. This soldier had seen a lot of suffering, and he trained hard with us. And now in this dim light, I saw him sitting there on his own self-made meditation bench, strong and still, contemplating loving kindness for all beings, with tears streaming from his eyes and dropping on the skull on his shirt. And my mind went into fibrillation. This wasn't the stereotype image of your macho military man who out of his fear acted tough. This was somehow an image of a deeper kind of strength and sense of mastery than I'd ever imagined. A couple of weeks later, after the gut check, Chief came up to me in the lab. The teams had all been successful in making it through the course, although it had required much fortitude and there'd been considerable pain for many of them. I asked him how he'd used what he'd learned in the encampment on the gut check, and he said, "You know, Joel, when the going got really rough and my feet and legs were killing me and I was really feeling the pain, I'd just kick into that practice where you send good vibes to yourself and others, and I just kept pumping it out. I let my breathing and my pace just sort of lock into the formula, and I kept sending energy out to the rest of the guys who were really hurting like I was. May you be happy. May you be free from your pain. May you live with love. May you really awaken to your full power and potentials." This technique really kept me going and really helped me to harness the power of my own pain as a way to help me generate the compassion and the energy that kept me going. You know, I would have never dreamt that it could work that way. Thanks, Coach. So you see that using the classical theme of loving kindness as a focus for breakthrough thinking and living has a timeless power that can't be underestimated. So when we're talking about breakthrough thinking, we're talking about 4 primary skills. First is concentration and the ability to keep the mind focused on a single theme of thought. You'll be learning how to develop the single-pointed capability in more specific ways on Side 10, the next session. Second is a comfort with paradox and the ability to hold complementary or opposite points of view simultaneously. Third is the ability to work with systems thinking that can see the interwoven dynamics of complex and changing systems. And fourth is the ability to maintain a mindfulness while doing all of the above. Classically, breakthrough thinking is applied to gain insight into the dynamics of any complex system. By their very nature, every human system or system in nature is complex, dynamic, ever-changing, and multidimensional. So to any question that you ask, there may be many dimensions of answers and many perspectives from which an answer might come. Over the past 20 years, we've studied many systems of higher-order thinking and learning that have been developed in many fields of science and philosophy. These many systems speak to the activation and integration of many kinds of intelligence that we use in our ordinary thinking. And each system of thought offers an invitation to look at any system in terms of primary elements, beginnings and endings, what's developing and dissolving, what's manifesting, and what are the system's potentials. Where is there movement and flexibility, and where is there stuckness or resistance to change? One of the most common approaches to getting a handle on thinking about complex systems is to ground your inquiry in very tangible realities of your own physical and environmental situation. Weaving together a variety of ancient and modern approaches to systems thinking, we'd like to introduce you to a matrix of meaning that can hold the system's dynamics of many perspectives at the same time. You'll see shortly how this works. Begin by orienting yourself to the 4 directions, east and west, north and south. If you're not sure of the directions, simply assume for the sake of this practice session that the direction that you're facing now is the east. And at a later time when you get your bearings and then repeat this technique, then face the actual directions. Inhaling now, turn to face the east, that place of dawning, sunrise, and new beginnings. That place of inspiration where what was hidden by the night is revealed and becomes clear. The east, that place where insight crosses the threshold into light that illuminates your world. That place that the earth forever turns to and returns to, the east. Standing in the fullness of your breath now, turn to face the south, that place of the brightest light, that noontime sky where the sun is most high and the light is warmest and brightest. The south, that place where everything is manifest, full-blown, full-grown, and as being in its fullness is sure to wane from here. Exhaling now, turning to face the west, behold that place of sunsets and completions, that time and place where the last rays of light, the last waves of breath disappear across the threshold into night, that place of transformation. Exhaling completely, emptying and turning now to face the north. Facing toward the North Star, that one still, unchanging place in the spinning universe that seems to always be there. So you can use this in your daily life and work to stand in the center of a question or a project and to face the east metaphorically or in actuality. Ask yourself, what is beginning and emerging here? What has yet to fully emerge into clarity? What's being born that needs to be developed and brought into fruition? What is the potential for breakthrough in this breakdown? And to the south you ask, what's clear here? What's reached its peak and is on its way out? Turning to the west you ask, what's passing or coming to completion in this process? What seeds are being sown and what is being composted to feed the next cycle? And to the north you ask, what remains unchanging here? What are the potentials and possibilities that have not yet been recognized? What is frozen that must thaw before the next cycle can begin? So you use the basic truth of natural cycles and directions to organize your attention and focus your thinking. With each cycle of the process, a clearer and deeper sense of the whole system emerges, and with each iteration you deepen your wisdom and improve your ability to work with the system and to maximize its potentials.
It's this kind of deep experiential thinking that's at the heart of any successful process of building total quality and continuous improvement within an individual life or an organization. As your insight deepens, so does your confidence and commitment to staying focused on your business objectives by continuously learning and improving. Ultimately, your greatest wisdom is in learning to hold all of these perspectives and points of view simultaneously, to hold a global vision of the whole system in all of its phases and stages at the same time. When you've learned to do this, you come to stand in that witnessing wisdom and creative intelligence that's the essence of mindfulness. And in the process of learning to think in terms of more complex and dynamic systems, you remember that you're retooling your brain to handle more complex fields of information and to think in more powerful ways. You begin to build a full spectrum of creative intelligence. You discover the wisdom of balancing active and quiet mind skills, and of supplementing your verbal, linguistic intelligence with other kinds of symbolic, spatial, and kinesthetic intelligences. Weaving all the parts together in a dynamic whole, vibrant with paradox and bursting with questions, uniting mindful concentration and insightful analysis, you've grown a focused mind that's fit for action and truly breakthrough thinking. Have you ever stood by the edge of the shore and watched, utterly transfixed, while the sun slowly turned into a ball of crimson fire and gently dipped lower and lower into the horizon to finally disappear beneath the flaming sea? If so, then you've participated in an experience of single-pointed concentration that's among the most ancient and universally shared moments of focused absorption known to humankind around the world. Single-pointed concentration is a very important skill for the mastery of attention. It involves learning to focus your attention one-pointedly without distraction on a single activity or object. This practice will gradually develop the power, peace, and clarity of your mind and allow you to carefully observe or think about whatever you choose without the mind being drawn into distraction. To build maximum concentration, it's necessary to learn how to maintain such a precise and narrow focus of attention, which can block out all internal and external distractions. In general, there's a lot of activity and confusion in the mind. Single-pointed concentration techniques provide tools to focus this activity and to transform this confusion by coordinating the energy that's moving in a more intentional and deliberately focused way. This serves to antidote and counteract the habitual scattering of attention and distraction that contributes so much to the chaos and confusion you ordinarily encounter in undisciplined mind states. Remember, the purpose of all the methods you'll find on this side is to achieve single-pointed concentration. Since each person has a different temperament and brain style, we'll be introducing you to a variety of methods for achieving the same result. As you listen to the numerous methods that follow, listen for the ones that click for you, the ones that something in your mind or body just naturally say yes to. Make a note of this and then practice with that method 2 or 3 times a day for 3 to 10 minutes. Flexing your brain and mind in this way is certain to build your concentration. These exercises require your undivided attention, so if you're driving a car right now or need to stay focused on something else as you listen to this side, then by all means stay focused on what you're doing. And as you listen to this tape, just get a sense for the principles of single-pointed concentration, the variety of different methods of its practice, and the guidelines for optimal use of its methods. Just make sure that you revisit these exercises and do them when you can give them your full attention. Simply hearing about the focused mind state will not give you the results you seek. You must have a direct experience. Once you do, you'll be hooked. In the final analysis, you'll get the most benefit from listening to this tape if you can go beyond all the words to the actual experience they point to. If you only listen superficially, your experience will be like the person looking at my finger pointing toward the moon, rather than looking into the sky where I'm pointing and actually see the moon.
What's the value of investing so much attention and energy into the training of single-pointed concentration? Why should you bother? In a word, the answer could simply be put as freedom. If you're like most people, you're likely to live a life that's highly conditioned, impulsive, and unconscious. The workings of your mind and your behavior are, for the most part, outside of your control. The reason to invest the discipline, effort, time, and energy to master these methods is so that you can free yourself from the invisible prison of your habits. With your mind more under your control, you'll be running your life rather than having yourself be controlled by habits, hopes, and fears. And with this greater freedom of mind, you can have greater power, greater wisdom, and greater compassion. And you'll be better equipped to direct your mind in new directions that are vital to learning to survive and thrive in the increasingly complex world of today and tomorrow. So then, how can you begin to build your concentration to be less momentary and fragmentary and to be more continuous, wholehearted, and penetrating? There are 4 strategies that will guide you in the right direction toward this goal. Before starting out on any concentration session, it's a good idea to review these guidelines and make sure that you've set your sails true to course. First, do whatever is reasonable to minimize external distractions and intrusions. Close the door to your office, turn on the phone machine, or hang out your Do Not Disturb sign. Second, make yourself physically comfortable by sitting upright and relaxed with your spine straight but not tense or rigid. Loosen your tie or take off your shoes. Next, turn your mind to your intended purpose for this time. Select something that you want to do with full awareness as a means of strengthening your concentration. If you choose something you enjoy, you'll be more likely to do the practice more often. Clarify what you're about to do and why this is important to you. For example, you may think to yourself, I wish to better understand what's going on in this region of the world, and therefore I'm going to read this article with full attention. Being specific on your purpose and the method you'll use to fulfill your purpose will help you keep your attention focused and will protect your mind from hopping around from one method to another without building any real power of concentration. And lastly, remember to notice distractions as soon as they arise, and then to return your attention to what you're focusing on without spinning off into mental elaborations. Simply note where the mind is being pulled, and then without following it, reaffirm your intention to engage in this activity with maximum concentration. Properly framed, each distraction can provide an opportunity to actually strengthen your concentration muscles. With a little practice, you'll become aware of how distracted you are. With a bit more practice, you'll notice when your attention has wandered and you'll return swiftly to what you're doing. With more practice, distractions will arise peripherally in your mind without pulling your attention completely away from what you're doing. And at the next stage, distractions simply cease to arise and the stream of attention flows continuously wherever you focus it. If you were to research the classical literature on concentration as we have, you'd find numerous metaphors and guidelines that describe the qualities of a concentrated mind and the different stages of development along the path to its perfection. One image that's frequently used compares the concentrated mind to a mountain. Pause for a moment and see if you can imagine what it might feel like to sit or stand like a mountain. As you try this image on, what are the qualities that you notice about being mountain-like? The mountain metaphor may tap you into a sense of being stable, noble, high, and expansive in view. or it may put you in touch with the quality of being undisturbed or unmoved by the changes around you. As you practice the following techniques on this tape, you might enjoy experimenting with wearing this mind of a mountain and see what shifts of power and stability you might notice.
The first technique to start with is a simple focusing game you can challenge yourself to anytime you want to fine-tune your skills of concentration. The rules are very simple. To begin, pick a short period of time. 5 or 10 minutes is good to start. Now, for each breath you breathe, on the exhalation, count 1, very softly to yourself. Let your counting be very quiet and very crisp. Keep most of your attention focused on the breath flow. With the next breath, count 2, and so forth until you count all the way to 10. When you reach 10, then begin again counting from 1. If you missed a count because you spaced out for a moment or were distracted by some thought, go back to 1. Let everything else going on within and around you be way in the background and keep your attention focused on simply counting the breaths. In the course of this exercise, you may notice different changes in the quality of your breathing. The rhythm of your breath may change, becoming faster or slower, calmer or more erratic. Whatever it does, just stay focused on the breath flow, counting each exhalation from 1 to 10, and then beginning again. As you count your breaths, you may also notice an increased awareness of messages from your body. All kinds of tensions, pains, or fidgetiness may suddenly start telegraphing their presence to you with seemingly utmost urgency. For this short period of time, simply notice these signals and stay focused on the breath flow and the counting. Another voice that may call for your attention is the voice of judgment, otherwise known as your internal critic. When this voice of judgment, or VOJ for short, gets activated, it can accost you with thoughts like, "This is a real stupid exercise. I'm not going to sit here just counting my breath for all this time." Simply notice this inner distraction as part of the flow, greet it with a patient smile, and let it go as you return your attention to continue counting your breaths. If you find that it's difficult to keep your attention focused on something so simple as the breath, just imagine how hard it is to maintain quality concentration on more complex activities. Generally speaking, the quality of our attention is so superficial and distracted that we simply aren't aware of how many thoughts are going on just below the surface. So when you finally stop to quiet down a bit and get more focused, the quality of your attentiveness may give the impression of amplifying the noise in your mind. But actually, this increased awareness of mental activity is just a sign that you've successfully quieted your mind to achieve the first stage of concentration. By developing the power of your concentration in simple circumstances that are relatively stress-free, you'll improve the quality of attention that you're able to give to everything else that you do. Mind fitness training is like working out with all the great technology at a good gym. Over time, you really do strengthen your muscles and your spirit. And the strength and vitality that you've gained can then be applied to an infinite variety of activities in other settings and circumstances. Take some satisfaction in knowing that you're developing the discipline that'll bear the rare fruit of personal mastery. So as you practice this exercise and the exercises that follow, keep in mind that your discipline will pay off in improving the quality of mind that you bring to every arena of your personal and professional life.
The next method for training one-pointedness of mind using the breath as a vehicle comes from the yogic tradition. It's called Anapana, which is the Sanskrit word meaning in and out. Ana refers to the breath coming in, and Pana refers to the breath going out. Once you're able to concentrate completely on counting your breaths, you're ready to advance to the next stage and focus your attention on the process of breathing itself. Right now, can you find the natural rhythm of your breathing as it flows from one moment into the next, without trying to change or alter it in any way? Good. Then you're ready to begin. Start by just breathing in and out as usual, without any effort or strain. Next, simply observe where it is that you notice the movement or sensations of the breath most predominantly, and rest your attention there, riding the waves of the breath from moment to moment. Perhaps you've found that you're most aware of the rising and falling movement of your chest or abdomen. Or maybe it's the sensation of warm or cool air entering or leaving through your nostrils, or touching your upper lip. Wherever it is, choose the one place that's easiest for you to focus on and settle your single-pointed concentration on the sensations in that region. Let the breath be natural, coming and flowing as it is, without trying to make it deeper or slower, longer or more rhythmic. It will likely change on its own anyway. And the more closely attentive you become, the more changes you're likely to observe. So give up trying to change anything about your breathing for now at all. Your whole job in this practice is simply to monitor the breath closely, like a careful gatekeeper, noticing when it comes in and when it goes out. Allow your attention to become so merged with the rhythmical activity of your own natural breathing process that your attention is completely drawn into it. Following the breath closely, become aware of its movements and changes. Remember to stay relaxed, and as we've suggested before, it may be helpful to bring a gentle smile to mind as you observe the breath flow. To help you anchor your concentration in the present moment of each breath and keep your focus on track, you might like to make a gentle mental note to yourself marking each wave of the breath flow. Synchronizing your soft mental note with each breath, the process would look something like this: rising with each inhalation and falling with each exhalation. Rising, falling, rising, falling, or in and out, in and out. During this practice of Anapana, whenever you become aware that your attention has drifted off to follow some other object of attention, gently return your mind to the breath and begin to focus there again without further ado. The moment you notice that you've fallen off the tightrope of single-pointed concentration, catch yourself and you're right back on again. This process of training single-minded concentration is somewhat like training a young puppy to sit still when all it wants to do is run around wildly and piddle all over the place. Over and over again, you bring it back with a gentle tug, and you say firmly but kindly, "Stay, stay," until one day it does what you tell it. Similarly, if you make the commitment to training your mind to concentrate and practice an exercise like Anapana diligently, ideally twice a day, morning and evening, for at least 5 or 10 minutes at a time, you'll be amazed to find that sure enough, slowly, you will have unlocked the secret to successful concentration, and your attention will stay where you want it to be.
One of our teachers, Thich Nhat Hanh, introduced us to a very effective way of combining breath awareness with concentration training. Thich Nhat Hanh is a great contemporary Vietnamese meditation master and poet. His method involves the integration of little meditation poems known as gathas as aids to concentration. You'll find that if you give the thinking, talking mind something to do, it'll be more easily pacified and tamed than if you just let it rage freely, going where it will without some discipline and restraint. One of our favorite gathas goes like this: breathing in, I calm my body and mind. Breathing out, I smile. In much the same way as you used mental notes in some of the previous exercises, the verses of the gathas are synchronized to match your breathing, so that at the very moment that you're breathing in, you're saying softly to yourself in your mind, Breathing in, I calm my body and mind. And at the very moment that you're breathing out, you're affirming silently to yourself, I smile. Breathing in, I calm my body and mind. Breathing out, I smile. Yes, so easy and so simple, bringing the power of your mind, your body, your breath, and your speech all into sync with each other. What a rare event! The Gata technique can be distilled to working with its essence by simply affirming with a single word, such as calming on the in-breath, and simply noting smiling on the out-breath. Try this now. Catch the next wave of your inhalation, calming, and the next wave of your exhalation, smiling, calming and smiling, calming and smiling. Throughout the day, experiment with weaving either the long form or the short form of this practice into your ordinary activities. Choose whichever feels most natural to you. This may change depending on the rhythm of your breathing and the quietness of your mind, but whichever form you choose, stick with that one for the remainder of your practice session. Up to now, most of the methods you've been working with have involved synchronizing the flow of your attention with the flow of the breath. We suggested this because these methods are especially effective for people who have very busy minds with lots of internal chatter. The breath can be effectively combined with visualization and body movement to enhance the power of your concentration by involving more areas of your brain and nervous system. Getting the visual cortex and the motor cortex synchronized with your breath awareness can speed up your learning process, especially if you tend to be the kind of person who's very visual or kinesthetic. Let's move on now to explore some other ways you can learn to develop single-pointed concentration besides using the breath as your primary focusing tool. We'll have a look at different methods of focusing attention working with actual visual objects, as well as mentally visualized ones. And we'll also examine ways you can incorporate sound to further sharpen your skills of honing in on a single point of focus.
First, let's explore several ways you can practice single-pointed concentration by using visual and mental images as the object of your focus. To start this phase of your training, focus your attention on something of interest to you in this moment. The direction of your attention can be outwardly towards some pleasing object of your senses, such as a flower, a beautiful clear crystal, a candle flame, or a star. It can be directed inwardly towards a mentally visualized object. Anything of interest will do, though it's best not to focus too long on an outward object that's bright or shining because that might damage your eyes. At one level, any object will serve as a support for developing concentration, but some objects have a naturally more pleasing and beneficial effect on the mind and body. In some traditions of mental development, a sacred object or image is often chosen as the preferred object of attention. Many of the world's contemplative traditions begin concentration training using a sacred image, such as an image of Jesus or the Buddha, or a sacred symbol like the cross or the Star of David. In Tibet, for example, an image of the Buddha is the object most oftenly selected to train the mind in stabilizing single-pointed concentration. The reason for this is that by focusing on an object or image that represents and evokes positive mental or spiritual qualities and associations, you'll be strengthening more mental functions than just concentration, and therefore benefiting your mind in more ways than one. For example, through the process of single-pointedly focusing on an object, your understanding and insight into the meaning of the reality behind that visual object can grow as well. Perhaps the simplest way to learn how to develop single-pointed concentration using a visual object is to begin with a soothing color like blue, or any other color that has a pleasing effect on you. The color blue is often recommended as a starting point because of its calming sky-like effect. To begin, you might just gaze into the deep, clear blue of the sky, or you might place a piece of blue cloth or a piece of mat board in front of you. Then just rest your gaze on the color and relax. Especially relax your eyes and let them be soft and clear. Just sit and be completely present with the color. If your attention wanders or slips into thinking about blue, rather than just observing and feeling blue, just return your attention to rest on the image before you. As with the other concentration exercises, focus more on the quality of your concentration than on the length of time that you're able to stay focused. Begin with only a minute or two of quality focus time, returning your attention to the object whenever it wanders. And then take a brief break from the focusing on the object and just allow yourself to sit quietly and mindfully relax and just rest in the flow and look around. After about 30 seconds or a minute, return your attention again to focus on the object, blue, or whatever you're looking at. Continue in this way, alternating focusing and relaxing for a training session of about 10 to 20 minutes. Stop the tape and do this now. Welcome back. If you train in this way, gradually your concentration will grow and you'll be able to focus single-pointedly for a whole minute or two at a time. At that point, gradually begin to increase the time, being conscious not to compromise the quantity of time for the quality of concentration. Again, the process is very similar to building muscular strength and endurance, or to reconditioning yourself after an injury. I remember a time when I began to put my knee back together after an injury. At first, I could barely lift even a single pound and felt really frustrated and disheartened because it was so weak. But I kept on working out for short periods of time, many times during the day. Lots of reps followed by short pauses to relax. And within a week, I was amazed as I was comfortable with up to 5 pounds without any pain. After 3 weeks, I was up to 20 pounds and really feeling great about how quickly I'd been able to regain my strength. In a similar way, if you work with concentration techniques and really stay focused on the quality of time that you train, you'll find that your nervous system and your concentration can be similarly strengthened.
As you gain familiarity with the visual image that you're working with, there's another approach you can expand to that builds upon this foundation. First, begin by focusing for a brief, quality time on the actual object before your eyes. Then, gently close your eyes and envision the same image or color as clearly as you can in your mind's eye. If you don't actually see it, just mentally affirm that it's there and sense it as clearly as you can. Focus for a short time on this mental image, and then open your eyes and refresh your visual image of the object or color. After 5 minutes or so of alternating back and forth, relax the focus of your attention for a minute or less, and then resume your practice. With practice, you'll come to have a clearer and clearer mental image of the actual object, and as this image grows clearer for you, then set aside the practice with the external object and just focus on this self-generated mental image. If it becomes difficult to find the mental image, then return to alternating, focusing on the actual visual object and the mental image until the mental image becomes clear again. As your concentration grows, it'll become much easier for you to hold your focus on the mental image, which is far more subtle and changeable than the actual visual object before you.
Keep in mind that some people have a difficult time visualizing. If we were to be talking to a group of 100 people, approximately 20% of them would see what it is that we're suggesting to them just vividly present in their mental visual field. Another 20% would have difficulty actually seeing a mental image of that object or idea, but they'd be able to get a feeling for it, maybe kinesthetically, or a sense of smell or shape or form out there that isn't a visual image. The other 60% of people will have some blend of mental imagery, kinesthetic imagery, different ways of being able to get hold of a mental image. See what works best for you, and as you listen to these exercises, just go with the flow and see how the images best appear to your mind. One of our favorite methods for focusing attention throughout the day combines the visualization of a mental image with conscious breathing. To do this technique, we'll ask you to modify the image of holding a sphere of light in your heart and to envision that now it's actually like a shining sun or a bright shining star radiating in your heart. Now, with each in-breath that you take, it glows more brightly, and with each exhalation, its rays shine out to bring more light into the world. Try this now by taking a deep breath to focus your attention at the center of your chest and allow the sun to just shine in your heart now as you exhale, allowing the power of the light to shine out through you and to light up your world. This is one method that has a myriad of variations depending upon your changing needs. With practice, this exercise can help you to discover your own inborn radiance and power. You'll find that this sense of your own natural, heartfelt radiance will simply become a given, like a program that's always booted up on your computer, just waiting to be opened. With a wakeful breath now and then throughout the day, allow your breathing to draw your attention to this point of power and light and energy at the heart of your being, and then just let it shine. At times that the challenges in your life are asking you to manifest more patience, imagine that the breath can help you to focus the power of patience in your heart, and then let patience shine more brightly through you. If more peace, clarity, or calm would serve you, then as you breathe, focus the energy of your attention, intention, and imagination at your heart and generate a wave of peace, clarity, or calm. Though at first these exercises may appear to be merely imaginary, with time your skill and confidence will grow and enable you to actually focus and change the quality of your energy and mind at will.
Before we close this side, let's review the 5 most important things to remember in developing single-pointed concentration. First and foremost, focus on quality time. Short and focused sessions are better than spending a longer time and being spaced out. Take a break while your concentration is still good. This will leave you looking forward to continuing your practice. And continuity of practice is the key to success in concentration. This brings us to the second principle, the importance of being continuous in your training. Like strengthening muscles, if you work out every day or at least a few days a week, you'll see more results than if you only train once a month. Third, pick a method that you enjoy and look forward to working with. Remember how important enjoyment and interest are in building the power of your concentration. Practice focusing your attention on things or activities that you really enjoy and that you find beautiful or interesting. Doing this will build your capacity to then transfer your power of concentration to focus in on things that are less interesting to you. Fourth, practicing mindfulness throughout the day will strengthen the power of your focused concentration. By being more mindful of your walking, talking, thinking, and mind states throughout the day, the quality of your attention will naturally grow. Then, when you choose to really zoom in and focus on something in a single-pointed way, your mind will already be more calm, collected, and focused to produce optimal results. And finally, remember to smile, relax, and enjoy your training periods. Having fun is an absolutely essential ingredient that will accelerate your progress and make your challenge sparkle. So be patient with yourself as you begin this training. Be gentle and be persevering. Though the transformation in your mind may not be perceptible to you, there is definitely a transformation taking place. The process is like fruit ripening on a tree. Day to day, the changes are imperceptible. It's so gradual. Yet the sun shines and the rain falls, the blossoms swell and the limb bends, and the sweet fragrance fills the air. In a similar way, your work on yourself, the discipline, patience, the attention and care that you give to this inner process is certain to bear sweet fruit.